Hi, my name is Andrea,
And I'm MJ.
and this is
And this is
the
the
Laughs Down podcast. That
we
was
did our
really
best.
sick. That was really good. I think that was, there's room for
We gave it a
improvement.
spin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We don't want to start too high on our first episode because then people will come to expect too much.
Manage the expectations early. I've always said that.
She's always said that. How are you today, MJ?
I'm I'm doing fine. How are you?
Well, I mean, like, we are like official podcasters now. I don't know if that is, something that you've registered yet, but like, we can put like, on our resume, I'm going to just put like podcaster.
I I think I'll leave that off my resume.
What?
Because what if
She's,
they
look it
find
up.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're marked as like an explicit podcast, by the way, because I just figured that was safer that way.
So we can say the F word without doing community service.
Say it right now. Wee,
No.
wee, wee. She was gonna say it. She was gonna say it, guys. Yeah, I am super excited to be kicking off our first episode of the Lapstone podcast. And I thought that we could like start off really quick with just a little intro to us, but we will be getting into current events. So if you're like, I don't care about these losers, don't worry. It does go somewhere, okay? But I just think it's a little weird to like act like we're not gonna introduce ourselves a little bit. Like, right? It's a little weird to just like show up and act like y'all already know us.
To just jump into business. No, it's important that people know us.
Yeah, they want to know us on a deeper personal level. How could you listen to a podcast and not know them on a deeper personal level? That's what I've always said.
She's always said that.
Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, what is this podcast going to be about? Just so you guys know, we're going to be covering F1. We're going to be covering IndyCar. And I don't want to lose some of y'all on this. We are going to be covering NASCAR. And if you think, I don't care about NASCAR, I don't watch NASCAR, we're going to convince you otherwise over time. Just give us that time, okay? But we'll mostly be talking probably about F1 at the moment and NASCAR because IndyCar is obviously, she's not going right now. You know what I mean? So like, there's only so much to chat about. You know what? Actually, we might have a lot to chat about. IndyCar never really stops being a little bit messy.
Yeah, the silly season actually is quite
Hmm.
booming right now. So there actually might be more to talk about now than there was during the actual season, but we'll let you know.
We'll
We'll
get
keep you
there. We'll get
updated.
there. We'll get there. And you might also be thinking, like, literally everyone has a motorsports podcast. And we actually already thought about that as well. We did actually think about that. And then we just decided we're still going to do it because it sounds fun. But we're a couple laps down, okay? We're a couple laps down. Everybody else is maybe seeing that checkered flag. We're still working on it, okay? So that's kind of the rundown on who the podcast is, um, who we are. I don't know. I mean, my name's Andrea. Nice to meet you. I am from Michigan. I live in DC. Why did I get weird about it? I'm the one who's like introduced.
I don't know.
Wow. I made it weird. I'm sorry. That's kind of my thing too. But I've been probably on TikTok now for like 4 or 5 months, and that's where I met the wonderful MJ. MJ, who are you?
I'm MJ. I'm
Wow.
also a Midwest girly. I think that's important to clarify that we are both like at our
Hmm.
roots Midwest girlies because I think
Yeah.
it's going to make more it's important you know that for context in the future.
Yeah, I think so.
Um but I'm from Iowa, still live in Iowa. I think I started making content like exactly a year ago tomorrow. So I've been
Woo!
here for a minute. It feels like it's been so much longer. I feel like I've been doing this for
She's been through the
so much
trenches, y'all.
longer. I've been through the trenches. I don't know. Now I'm being weird about it.
It's
That's
okay.
it.
I'll move on before we make it more weird. A lot of people
Perfect.
have this misconception that we know each other off of TikTok. That is
Hmm.
not correct. We
No.
literally were just mutuals. When I first started making content, I had followed her, and we both kind of got live access on TikTok around the same time. And she had posted something of like, "Don't you just hate how TikTok makes you go live by yourself twice before you can go live with somebody? Because now I'm just talking to myself." And I had swiped up and I said, "Girl, same." And then we went live together, and the rest is history. But I don't know why people get the impression that we like know each other, like we're old childhood friends or something. I don't know if they think all people in the Midwest know each other or what that's about,
But
but no, we don't. We I've never met in person. She could be really short, and I have no idea. So that's that, and I'll never know.
I
Who
could be.
knows?
You'll never know.
And then one last thing, just as a little intro. We're only like 5 minutes in, so hopefully you guys haven't lost complete interest in who we are as people yet. But I also feel like it's interesting to hear about how people got into motorsports because it isn't like the most mainstream of things. So I do feel like you have to find your way to it. MJ, tell me a little bit about how you found your way to motorsport.
I just like accidentally face planted into it one day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not really a funny story, but I
Hey, at least she's
usually
honest,
watch.
guys.
It's not a funny story. I'll be as brief as possible. I usually watch hockey while I work out. Okay, stick with me. And it was 2023. It was like summertime. And so I was rewatching the New Jersey Devils versus the Rangers. I was watching their little playoff series, and I would just keep rewatching it every single time I worked out. And then one day I went to watch it, and it had all been mysteriously deleted. We have not gotten to the bottom of who deleted it. I'm assuming it was me, but I am blaming everybody else in the household. And so I was
Yeah.
just like kind of like fumbling through the channels. Like I've got to put something on. And the Austrian GP was on. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it had the little like sports logo next to it. So I was like, this will count. This is basically
This
hockey.
is some sort of something, yeah.
Hey, this will be fine. This will do. And I tuned in just like briefly, and it was the funniest thing ever. Lando and Lewis were like tattling on each other for track limits. And I thought I have never found something so much enjoyable than watching these men tattle on each other while the broadcasters are trying to talk about how like prestigious of a sport this is. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no,
These
it's
actually
just
are
some.
idiots out there. I don't know if you noticed, but they're like
These
literally
are
acting like
just
children.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. I got on like TikTok. I think I got on Tumblr first, and I was like, "Hey, have you guys ever heard of F1? Like, what is this?" And then I got on.
Yelling into the like quiet echo chamber of Tumblr, being like, "Do you guys know that there's a
Hey
sport
guys,
that's like them driving cars?"
have you guys heard of this? And everyone was like, "Yeah, no, we've been on this for a minute." And then I got on TikTok, and I, I don't know. I'm still here,
The
so
rest is
haven't
history.
escaped. The rest is
Um,
history.
I feel like I have the most annoying way to get into F1 for most people, which is I was an American fan just sitting at home doing nothing, and all these people were talking about Drive to Survive on Netflix, and I was like, okay,
Mm.
fine, I'll watch it. And this was like during COVID, so I was like, well, what else do I have to do? And I watched Drive to Survive, and I think I was like, I don't really care about the racing, but I love this like drama. But then I started to realize like maybe I do actually care about the racing a little bit because I would like constantly be following on like Twitter and stuff like at 3 a.m. in China, some race is happening and some crazy stuff is happening, and I was like, wait, I kind of want to watch this. And so eventually I found my way actually just buying the F1 TV subscription. But before then, there was some very kind people who would live stream the races, potentially
Really?
illegally, on
No,
Twitter.
no,
And I
no.
did watch those. But before anybody comes for me, I was in college, okay? I was poor. But now F1 TV gets my full $80 or whatever the cost of that subscription is. And the rest is
Yeesh.
history. But I started making content because honestly, I just wanted to talk about it. And there was nobody in real life who cares. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll
Hmm.
do what everybody else does and go talk about it on the internet. And the rest is history. And by that, I mean, it's been 4 months. I don't know if that counts as history, but
The
here we are.
rest is history. You've been here for so long in the trenches.
She's a seasoned vet.
She's a
Um,
veteran.
but I don't know. I feel like it is interesting to hear how everybody gets into motorsport. I am a little jealous of people that have been here for a good while through means of not Drive to Survive because I feel like they get like an added perk of legitimacy as a fan because it's like I knew about F1 before everybody else in America cared about F1, and that is super sick for them. But I'm basic, okay, and I'm not afraid to admit it, and I'm not scared to say I'm a Drive to Survive fan, and I will not be bullied, okay? But you're starting to watch Drive to Survive. Do you see the appeal?
Um, yeah. I think my issue is it's just like I kind of ruined Drive to Survive by getting into the sport first, I think. Because
Okay.
when I'm watching Drive to Survive, they're trying to make me feel like this is like some really like dramatic, like intense thing. And then I go on social media and I'm like, no, Checo is shooting mini basketballs into mini basketball
Yeah.
hoops with a High School Musical sound behind it. I'm like, no, no, no. This
This
isn't
isn't
that
real.
deep. It's never
Yeah.
been that deep, I don't think. But it is interesting to just go back in time because I wasn't around when like
You
Haas
weren't
was
around. She
doing
wasn't she
better.
wasn't born
I
or
wasn't around.
conscious.
No, I wish I was alive in 2018. I wish I could have seen that. That would have been really cool. But unfortunately, I wasn't. So
Rip.
I'm I'm catching up, I guess.
Well, I think I like Drive to Survive for the manufactured storylines, and if you know that that's what that
Hmm.
is, then it's like enjoyable. My favorite is when like the storyline is just completely false. Like there's this hilarious episode in like the third season or something like that, where they basically are like Carlos and Lando Norris actually hate each other, and here is like a full episode about how much they like are fighting to be the number one driver at McLaren, and they won't even talk to each other. They can't even look at each other. They're so angry. And then you like cut to like what is reality, and there's like 16-year-old girls on Tumblr making full fan fictions about how much they love each other. And I just think
Yeah.
that that's quite funny. Another one of my favorite DTS storylines is just they were like a bit confused as to what to do in the first season because there's no Ferrari or Mercedes. And so they just made up a storyline of like Fernando is Spanish, and also so is Carlos.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
just got to that part.
yeah, so what about it? And they were like, that's all. Just
It's
take
just
that as you
it's
will.
just something we think you should know. I just want you
Just
to know.
noticed. We just noticed there
But I
happens
was
to be
like,
two Spanish drivers.
I
Thoughts?
didn't know that they had beefed so much. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, they
They
actually
haven't.
didn't.
They literally
No.
haven't. No beef
Hmm.
there, but okay, sure. Um, I do think that DTS is good for like I there are some things that I need to know what happened behind closed doors. I need to know like what the conversations were, specifically around like contract drama or like people getting dropped, and DTS is perfect for that. It's perfect. In fact, Daniel recently being dropped, apparently there's a rumor that DTS was like following him the whole day. They have like all of his final conversations with all of these drivers. Like apparently like Lando came and visited him in the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls like garage, whatever, and like Netflix had that whole final conversation between Lando and Daniel. And like that's kind of what I think DTS is good for, in my opinion.
The behind the scenes.
Yeah. But like I need to know what happened with the whole Daniel situation because now it's like he apparently was a goner from the get go. Like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, Liam Lawson was told that he was like gonna be promoted. So I'm like, wait, why were we doing all this then? Like, why were we like
I
play
don't
pretending? I don't really understand.
I don't understand why they would tell Liam because Liam just had to like sit with that in the garage. Like every time the F1 TV camera panned over to Liam after Daniel crashed, Liam was like, "Oh my God, they know. They know that I
I'm
know."
obsessed. I think there's one cameraman, and that's like his like favorite thing to do because probably for
It's his bit.
like a year now, there has been a bit where every time Daniel does anything bad, you just get a full camera shot of Liam, and I'm like, is he standing there the whole time, like just to get this shot? But like, I don't know how that works. But yeah, I think like Liam, he definitely had like a little bit of a different energy in Singapore. He knew something was cooking up, you know what I mean? And he had a little pep in his step, okay? And Daniel had a whatever the opposite of that is. He had a
Opposite of
little
a pep.
depressive. He had a depressive step, okay? He was not having a
Yeah.
good time in Singapore because he knew. So why did we play pretend? Why did we do this whole charade? I don't
I,
understand.
I just don't see the benefit of not telling Daniel before the race, especially when it's like, oh no, like most of us know. Like even me, even MJ sitting in Iowa, I was like, oh, this is your last race, bud.
Have
Prepare
fun.
yourself.
Yeah.
I it seems like another major flop. Like this was a layup. Saying goodbye to Daniel Ricciardo, even if it was in the middle of a season, I mean, easy. It could have been so
Mm-hmm.
easy. They could have gotten some footage from DTS. They could have made a nice little package. They could have
Yeah.
just like kind of obsessed over him for a week and then like
Yeah.
gave him the boot and been like, "Whoa, it's Liam time."
Yeah.
But they didn't, and that's embarrassing in my
Yeah, because
opinion.
now Liam is like getting all this hate because he got welcomed into a funeral essentially. He is walking into a
Yeah.
funeral celebrating. Nobody likes that vibe. He's like, I'm so excited to be an F1 driver. I've kind of dreamed of this my entire life. And everybody's like, can it, Liam? We're still mourning. Okay? Don't want to hear it from you. And I feel bad because, like, I think he is getting some, like, genuine heat. And it's interesting because I think that this is, like, kind of something that Oscar Piastri talked about with his mom. And then his mom, of course, went on the Red Flags podcast and spilled all the beans to everybody. So we're all part of this
Of
now.
course.
Love that. And he was scared to replace Daniel because everybody loves Daniel. And he was like, everybody's going to hate me because I am replacing Daniel. I think that he got away with it a little bit more because, like, I don't know, maybe people were like, yeah, Daniel should not be at McLaren. So, like, this is fine that he's leaving. But, like, Liam's not getting that sort of grace. People are, like, kind of hating on
No.
him hard. It's weird.
Maybe it's just because like this is probably the end for Daniel. Do
I
you
mean,
think?
the man's like
Was the last one the
35.
end for Daniel?
Well, the
Oh.
last one, I think that they were like, well, he's still a good driver. It's just like he didn't vibe with the McLaren car. And then like Red Bull did this whole
Mm.
thing where they're like, we're going to save Daniel from big bad Zach Brown. And everybody was like, that's good. Yeah, Zach Brown's so mean to Daniel. Save him. The fact that Red Bull, like, you can't come back to F1 a third time. You can't. I'm sorry. Like, why would a team take you? I think he's done for
I
Evs.
think I think he's done unless we open up like 10 more seats on the grid and we're like, yeah, we have some wiggle room.
Yeah.
But I
But
don't see him coming back.
do you know who, what is his name? It's like Kim or something like that. He's like a photographer. Do you know who I'm
Oh,
talking
Kim
about?
Illman. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So all these people, they literally act like he knows everything because he's been like right a couple times about like pretty obvious things, but whatevs.
Hmm.
He like put in the caption like maybe this isn't the last plot twist for the Australian driver. And now everybody is like he's going to stake, he's going to stake, and I'm just like why would
No,
stake do that? I'm sorry guys,
that
I
would be
hate to break
very
it to you.
silly.
I fear he's over. Okay? I fear
I
it's
fear
done.
this might be it for him. But I think this is a good way for him to go out while he's still like in he's on people's good sides. Like people see
Yeah.
him in a positive light. It's not like get out of here, old man. It's like no, we're gonna miss Daniel. This is like I think this is a good time for him to leave and maybe I don't know. He could find something else like WEC
Yeah.
or IMSA or just like being he has a Hulu comedy series coming out.
The man's fine,
He could do
right? You know what I
that.
mean? It's like, guys,
He's fine. I
he's
promise.
fine.
Don't
He's
call
fine.
Paw Patrol. He's fine.
He's like definitely gonna do a little goofing off for a couple years, and then maybe he'll come back as like a commentator or something. Um,
Yeah.
I think like we talked about him doing Dancing with the Stars. I think that's a wonderful idea. I think
Hmm.
he should. Sometimes I remember he is a 35-year-old man, so like maybe he should like I don't know, get married, buy a house, whatever 35-year-old people do, and
Yeah.
like
Go to
maybe
therapy.
he go to therapy, figure that out. Um, and then I think once it's like not awkward anymore, so maybe in like 2 or 3 years, you'll see him back as like the most beloved F1 TV commentator or something along those lines. And I think we'll all be okay, you know? I think the only people like punching the air right now is like Netflix because they're just like, what the
Yeah.
F are we gonna do now? But everybody else will be fine. I don't know if Christian Horner will be fine. He should be scared, shaking in his boots
Oh,
because
dang. Hate to see
they're
Christian Horner having a bad time, don't you?
don't you
It's
just
too
say.
bad. That guy.
But
Oh,
what I love about Christian Horner is that all of his bad days are all of his own doing. So, you know what I mean? It's
oh
like
yeah.
just ruin that, you know? But um I think that I've heard a couple people say this, but they're in like a fun little situation right now where they don't have a great outlook on their driver future because for some reason they hate Yuki Tsunoda and they're like never going to do anything with him. Yuki Tsunoda's on his last year, as is their Honda partnership, and that'll be that. Max is like literally being flirted with so hard by Toto, and then like also like
Toto.
apparently like rumors that like he could someday go to Aston Martin or something, whatever. And then like Liam is like getting his shot now, and so maybe that could work out into something for the future. Checo's like just hanging out. So like who's the star of the team if Max literally gets up and leaves?
They're gonna have to put Helmet in the seat, I think. I mean, at this point,
All
you've
right.
got 4 empty seats.
Get in
All
there,
right, Helmet.
kid. But like I'm just
But
like this is what you get. Like I'm sorry, dude, but like you lay in the bed, you made it. I don't want to hear it from you, buddy.
they wholeheartedly did it to themselves, and I don't know. I don't feel bad. I feel bad for Yuki. Free Yuki. Get
Okay,
him somewhere that
people
appreciates him.
people literally always are just like, yeah, and Red Bull just like will never put Yuki in the seat. And there's like part of me that I'm like, okay, I get that he was probably initially just there for the Honda partnership, whatever. But like he is like the best driver besides Max in the Red Bull
Yep,
program at the moment. Like why
correct.
are they so insistent on hating him when like he could actually just be beneficial to them? Like they don't have to get rid of him at the end of the Honda partnership from my understanding. Like they could just be like he was in the Red Bull program, he's a good driver, we will promote him. But they like refuse to do that for some odd reason. I don't understand.
I think it's too logical for them. Keeping Yuki,
Mhm.
promoting Yuki, it just makes a little too much sense. They're like, no, actually, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fire Daniel Ricciardo, and we're not gonna tell him. That's
Yeah.
what we're gonna spend our time doing.
Yeah.
And then, and now we just have empty seats because apparently Checo, well, it's rumored that he's going to announce his retirement at Mexico.
Oh
Did
my
you see
god, why are
that?
you No, I did not. I
I saw
mean,
that. I saw,
why
which
why do
could be
Why
interesting.
do F1 contracts exist? Like do you ever just think about how the fact that he fully has a 2-year contract, but we all are like there's no way that's happening. What are
Absolutely
these
not.
contracts? What are these?
I would, oh my God, what I would do to read one of these contracts, because there must be like 900 like if clauses. Like if this, then we fire you. If this,
Yeah.
then we fire you also.
There's probably a full clause that just at the end it's like, oh, and also by the way, none of this actually really matters. This is all just for shits
No,
and gigs.
this is all just vibes. 'Cause at the end of the day, it's my decision.
Yeah, like Christian Horner
Love
has his own little
Helmet
clause.
Marco. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just so you know, none of this means anything, and you'll never have job security. And I hope you never go to sleep and just feel comfortable in where you are on this team because you are always on the edge of losing it all. Love ya. Signed, Christian.
Sincerely. XOXO.
But yeah, I think like it is kind of logical, I think, for him to retire rather than be fired. If I was a driver, I would always be seeking to pull a Nico Rosberg. Like that's like the ideal way to do this, right? Is to be like, I won a world championship, and you will never catch me losing again. Goodbye.
And I'm out.
Gotta go.
Ending on a high note.
Yeah, because like, why would I want to be fired? That's so embarrassing. I don't want to do that. I want to leave on my own terms. Duh. I've every time I felt like I was going to be fired at a job, which hasn't been many times, but it has been once or twice,
Okay.
I quit before they fire me. Because I'm like, no, not a chance. You're not going to get one over on me.
You're not catching me slipping.
Wrong.
That's fair.
So yeah, when I was a tour guide at MSU, and I felt like, yeah, this isn't going well. They're not vibing with the jokes I'm telling on these tours. I was like, I gotta run. I'm so sorry. Goodbye. And they're like, but we were gonna fire you. And I'm like, too late. Too late, buddy.
I'm
Get in
actually
line.
already out. I do think that's what Checo should do, though. I think he should be like, actually, guys, this was really fun. And I don't have any qualms with Checo. No qualms.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, and especially, like, announcing your retirement at, like, your home base, being like, people
Mm-hmm.
freaking love me here. They're
Yeah.
gonna eat this up. Everyone's gonna be, like, sad, but in a happy way. I think that's a great move for Checo. And if you haven't considered doing this yet, Checo, if you're listening,
Checo, just so you know, this is the best route. Yeah, this is
this
probably the best way for you to go.
this is it, bud.
Because you
Love you,
saw
mean it.
how unceremoniously they kicked Daniel to the
Daniel.
curb. They're not going to do anything different for you. So it's best you just go on your own terms. For real.
For real. Please. Yeah. And then Red Bull can figure out who the hell they're going to fill their
Dude, Red Bull,
one empty seat, two empty seats. No, because Yuki's still there, so just one empty seat.
it'll just be Yuki and Max. But Yuki, of course, will never be on the Red Bull team, so I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do with that. But I don't know. I think Red Bull also, like, they have a lot of open positions right now. If you guys are looking for a new job, Red Bull has a lot of open positions, okay? Because, like, everybody is piecing out. And the one person that is not piecing out, that they should be thanking the lucky stars not piecing out, is Hannah, the strategist gal.
Right.
She's holding that place down bad, okay? And if she's leaving, that's when I've decided that means Max is leaving. That's who I've decided is the new benchmark, because everybody else is leaving and Max is still, like, hanging out on this sinking ship, okay? But the moment she leaves is the moment I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, Christian. I think your days are numbered.
I think it's Jover, my guy. Yeah, if you ever want to work in an active hellscape, you should apply for Red Bull Racing.
Yeah, if you actually hate your mental health and have no problem being in, like, yeah, basically it's just a Titanic environment. Every day the ship is going down. Red Bull. Check it out.
Red Bull.
Crazy things happening, guys. Watch this space. Okay, MJ, are you enjoying the butterflies? This is your final goodbye to Daniel Ricciardo. You're not enjoying the butterflies.
Absolutely not. One of my, like, biggest phobias, my longest lasting phobias is butterflies. Oh my God. Like, even just talking about it, I'm starting to get, like,
she's sweating.
Anxiety.
She's not
like,
having
I can
a good
feel
time.
my face flushing. I'm not enjoying the butterflies. I do appreciate the sentiment or, like, whatever, but absolutely will not be enjoying the butterflies unless it's from a distance.
Just, like, I want to, like, deep dive for, like, 2 minutes. What specifically scares you about the butterflies? Yeah, go ahead and just share. Is it their little antenna, or is it their, like, wings, or their little legs? Oh, okay, guys. I think I got to the bottom of it pretty quickly.
It's a lot. I do have a little bit of a traumatic story with a butterfly, and I think that's the issue. But I will not be enjoying the butterflies. This was a lot for the first episode, releasing the trauma.
Tune in by, like, episode 10. We'll figure out what the deep trauma is. We'll figure that out for sure.
We'll work this out.
But yeah, speaking of enjoying the butterfly, no, that's not a good transition. That doesn't actually make any sense.
Where are we going?
Speaking of people that were unemployed, but now they're not, Alexander Rossi. Thoughts?
Woohoo! He's going to Ed Carpenter Racing, which we all knew, I think. Mm-hmm. He's going to be driving, I think it's either the 20 or the 21. I actually don't remember. He said on his podcast, because they were kind of pressing him about it, how many years it was going to be, and he said he wouldn't say it's 2, but it is a multi-year. So take that how you will.
What are we doing here? What is happening?
I don't know why. Just say it.
What happened to putting years on contracts? What happened to that? Why is everybody in these multi-year deals? Just go ahead and let me know a number, please. What does this mean?
I need to manage my expectations, because how long am I going to have to be supporting Ed Carpenter Racing? You know?
Doesn't Ed Carpenter race for Ed Carpenter?
So he typically does. This year he split the number 20 car with Christian Rasmussen. Mm-hmm. He did the ovals, Christian did the road courses, and then when they realized that they weren't going to make it into the leader circle, they were like, you know what, Christian? Why don't you finish up this season?
Yeah.
Which I thought was a fun idea. So he will not be driving during the regular season, but he's like, don't worry, I will be back for the Indy 500.
We weren't worried. We weren't worried, buddy.
Thank goodness.
If you were rich, would you drive for your own team? Would you, like, have a team and then drive for it? I would. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
At least once. Once, yeah.
No, I would be there every race. I'd be like, you actually can get rid of me.
Yeah, I just have a lot of money. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I am here in a danger to all other drivers, because I'm, like, rocking at a solid 80 miles per hour on this oval. But, you know, like,
interstate pace.
I'm having a good time. I put, like, a little blinker on the back of my car so people know when I'm changing lanes.
Turn signal.
But I don't know. I mean, like, shout out to rich people. They just be doing stuff. Not helping society at all, but doing stuff, you know.
No. Shout out to rich people. That's like the theme of the week, with the charter system coming back and more contracts being announced. I'm just like, damn.
Damn.
Oh, to be rich.
Oh, to be doing whatever rich people be doing. By the way, stay tuned about the charter system. We're not going to dive into it too much today because me and MJ are tired of being wildly uneducated and just saying stuff that isn't true. So we're going to talk about it next week when we feel more equipped to do so. But
we'll break it down.
Yeah, I mean, Alexander Rossi, he's like kind of like one of the top paid probably drivers in IndyCar, right?
I think that's safe to say, yes.
Is this a downgrade for him in a way that should be worrying? Oh God, she's scared of being canceled, guys, or something. She's like calculated right now.
It's just kind of hard to say because because the people who were driving the Ed Carpenter racing cars last year were not Alexander Rossi. So maybe Alexander Rossi in an Ed Carpenter car could do better. It is a spec series. Yeah. It's a spec series, so it's like there's not a whole lot of difference between the cars. But as we were talking about, Ed Carpenter is a rich man, bless his heart, or not. He's got the money to put the team behind Ed Carpenter Racing, especially now that he has like a good driver in his car. So I'm not super worried yet, but the contract thing, I wouldn't say it's 2 years, but it is a multi-year. That might make me nervous. Maybe him being trapped there for so long. I don't know. I don't want to.
I do think there is something.
It's a downgrade.
If a top driver goes to a bad team, sometimes that can really affect their longevity in the sport. So it is a little worrying, the whole being trapped there, if it is a bad team. Because like, look at like Valtteri, or like what I'm scared is going to happen to Carlos is like, you can go from being top of your game, the way silly season works, next thing you know, you're at a bad team, and that's actually dunzos for you. That's scary. If I was Alexander Rossi, I'd be like, okay, this is the point in which if we have not gotten our ish together, I'm going to freak and I'm going to go somewhere else because I cannot be doing this personally. That's what I would do. I'd be a little spooked. I'd be a little scared. No offense to Rossi fans.
A little spooked. But like I think he'll be fine. I personally think he'll be fine. Everything is such a mess right now in IndyCar. I'm like, this is the least of my worries. I'm not worried about Rossi. I'm not worried about this good driver going to like kind of a bad team. I'm worried about like everything else. So I'll worry about him.
No, go ahead. Unpack
2 or more years.
Who are you worried about? Who are you worried about?
There are a lot of drivers on kind of in limbo right now who are good drivers. I won't say names. Who are not going to get a seat next year.
MJ, what are we doing here? What do you mean you're not going to say names? I don't know if you know this. We're recording a podcast. Say the names. They don't know. Names. They're not going to cancel you, MJ. They don't know. They're not listening to this.
I'm afraid of speaking it into existence and then it happening. I don't know if you know this. I'm pretty bad. I'll say it. I think Linus isn't going to get a seat next year because he doesn't have the funds. And Chip Ganassi Racing had to cut down from 5 cars. So 5 cars with 5 full teams to 3 cars now, which means there is 1 seat left, and I don't think it's going to go to Linus. And that's kind of what I'm stressed about. I'm stressed about pay drivers getting these opportunities and just like bumping out actual good drivers. So I'm not worried about Rossi. Yeah, I'm not worried about Rossi. I'm worried about the pay driver situation. But hopefully the charter system, which we will talk about soon, will kind of
a later date.
Were you just about to say tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't actually have any concept of time. Just ignore that. I'll see you tomorrow, MJ. I can't wait to see you again tomorrow.
This is actually a daily podcast.
Gotcha.
That would be insane.
Talk about beating a dead horse. We could get on here and talk about the same topics every day for like a week straight.
Every single day.
I'm actually still not over Daniel Ricciardo leaving. Let's talk about it again. I don't know. I feel like in IndyCar, I mean, as somebody that's like coming in as a newer fan, it is interesting to be coming in right now where a lot of people have no idea what they're doing or also what is happening. So I don't know. I'm yet to decide how spooked and scared I am. I think it's like right now, I'm not emotionally attached enough to any driver to feel some type of way about them not getting the seat, which is actually a beautiful place to be. But
Absolutely.
maybe I would have different qualms with the charter system and stuff in the future if it started to impact my favorite drivers. So like I could see why people are stressed and worried. And maybe Rossi fans are just like, hell yeah, he got a seat. That's all I need to care about. Can you remind me again of who's driving for McLaren next year?
Hmm. It's gonna be Pato's gonna have the number 5 again, and then you've got, oh no, you've got Nolan Siegel and the
Okay.
cursed number 6,
Mm-hmm.
and then Christian Lundgaard, who previously drove for RLO. He was in the high
Yeah.
V car. He will also be driving.
Okay.
He's taking Rossi's job basically
Yeah.
at Arrow McLaren.
Okay. All right, Zach Brown, you have a path next year to not have the reputation you had this year. Let's see if he can do it. Let's see if he can do it.
Good luck. Good
Good
luck,
luck, Zach Brown.
Charlie.
Just don't be a dick. Thoughts? I don't like in IndyCar how you can't choose your own number. I get the point that the cars are the numbers and then whatever, but like I don't know, could you imagine if you just were like, I just don't want to be number 5 anymore. And they're like, shut up, Pato, and get in the car. I don't want to hear it. I don't know. I feel like the numbers, it's like, I weirdly think as an athlete, that's one of the few things you have to choose, right? Like everything else is
Hmm.
decided for you. You get to choose your own number. What number would you go with?
I would go with 23. I'm a 23 girly because that's when my birthday is.
Uh huh. Do you want
That's
to
the
give?
number I would go with.
Okay. All right. Funny enough, my lucky number is 6. So I've always thought, there's a chance one day I might get a call. And they're like, get in,
Oh
girl.
my God, they're gonna put you in that Arrow McLaren. Stay
Get
safe,
in there.
girly.
Get in there, girl. Go for it. Speaking of girl, is Catherine Legg like gonna be part of Indy in the future?
That's a great question. I don't know. Right now we don't have any confirmed Dale Coyne drivers, but he does this thing where he's like, actually, I'm gonna wait till the last minute to let you know who's
Uh-huh.
driving. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, we'll talk about it more when we talk about the charter system, kind of how the Dale Coyne situation's gonna go.
Yeah.
She'll probably be there for the Indy 500 at the very least.
Least. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
Elf seems to be like a very plugged in sponsor to IndyCar. Like
Hmm.
beyond just like the car that she drives, they also are running like ads for Elf before the start of each, like when you come back from a commercial break, there's like a little plug for Elf. I think that would be very weird for that to just not exist anymore, considering like, yeah, Elf seems to be pumping a lot of money into IndyCar, surprisingly, for like a makeup brand. Like they're all in. So I don't know.
There, yeah.
It kind of bummed me out if like that just wasn't the case anymore. But I don't know. Shout out Elf. If you guys are listening, feel free to send us to a race. Love your lip oil. You guys are doing crazy things over there.
Huge fan, actually, huge
You
fan.
guys are you guys are on top of the trends. Shout out Elf. What is like your dream motorsport like fan experience? Like how people get sent to races, people get to like interview drivers, people get to do all these things. What would your like dream sitch be as a motorsport fan?
Ooh, especially at like IndyCar because you already get so much access.
Yeah.
Like when I was in Nashville, I was there. I
She's
was in the pit lane. Not pit
she
lane.
was
I
she
was
was
in the
in the
paddock.
number 6 car for like just a couple minutes. They were thinking about it, but they were like,
Yeah.
we'll let Nolan do it. Yeah, that's probably best. All right, get out, MJ.
I think because I have so much access, especially at IndyCar, to most things already, I would love to like follow around a team behind the scenes. You know how they like give you the little headphones?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Put me on a pair of those headphones and let me just like be immersed in it. Put me on like the pit lane. Let me just kind
Yeah,
of be in the way for a little bit. I just want to experience like that side of the chaos.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, you mostly have access to everything at IndyCar already. F1, it's like different. F1, I just want to
yeah.
like be sipping champagne in like a cute little sundress and be like, oh my God, is Carlos in a wall? You know?
Oh no. I actually think like F1, I have a similar dream of like getting to put on the headphones and listen to like all of the radios, because like obviously the radios on the TV are like the ones that they like have selected for you as like entertaining in some way. But something tells me that there's a lot more going on. There's some people that they watch the onboards of their favorite driver for the entire race on F1 TV, and they like listen to all the radios that way.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, shout out to them. I can't be doing all that. I need to know what happens like outside of my favorite drivers. But I think it'd be really cool to like get to put the headphones on, listen to the radios. I feel like in IndyCar they're not giving their radio drama. I don't know why, but that's not happening.
I kind of disagree, only because Roman
Okay.
Grosjean is there.
Oh my God. And
And
he was
so
like, that
you
wasn't in
can't
the
count him out.
email.
Exactly. I'm like, that 100% is happening the entire duration of every single race. And that's something I would put money on.
Yeah.
That's happening.
I love when like drivers get told on the radio. This is one of my favorite things in motorsport. When drivers get told on the radio, yeah, we hear you. Stop complaining, okay? Just focus on what you're doing. Drive the car, all right? We'll talk about it later. And I feel like Roman Grosjean probably gets that a lot. They're probably like, thank you so much for sharing. Can we operate the vehicle? Thoughts? Can we just stop complaining and just operate the vehicle? Thank you. And I love that for
They got to
Roman.
keep him in check. They got to keep that man. He also doesn't have a seat for next year as of right now, as of filming this. But maybe by the time we post this on Monday, the Ghost will be like, hey, guess what?
Well, this is getting posted at
Your bitch is
midnight.
back.
This is getting posted at midnight. So if they just went ahead and announced, that would be insane. That would be actually insane. Don't do that. Whatever
I'm trying
team
to
is going to
think.
sign Roman Grosjean. What do you
I
think? I don't know. What do you think about people that say people need to stop just thinking of IndyCar as like where you go if you don't succeed in F1? Because I actually see this a lot lately because of like people leaving F1. Everybody just goes, oh, they should just go to IndyCar. Daniel should just go to IndyCar. Logan should just go to IndyCar. Kevin Magnussen should just go to IndyCar. And a lot of people that are fans of IndyCar get annoyed, I think, with this concept that you can just be bad at F1 and then come to IndyCar and like own the series and like everything will be okay. And I do see how that could be insulting to the drivers of IndyCar. That like Logan Sargent's gonna just come to IndyCar and win everything because he's so much better than them. Even though like trigger warning MJ, he do be putting in the wall a lot in F1.
Hey, watch it.
I
That's
said
allowed
trigger.
in
I said
IndyCar.
I literally said trigger warning.
I know. I'm still triggered. I was just warned about it. Um, I do think that whole like misconception just comes from a place of F1 fans not knowing anything about IndyCar,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is fine. It's totally fine not to know anything about IndyCar, and I understand why IndyCar fans are getting obsessed about it. But I'm so of the vein though. We have to be getting people into IndyCar. So if they're excited about Logan Sargent getting a test in IndyCar, you got to
Yeah.
be like, hey, first of all, let me clear things up. This is not like baby F1. Like the
Mm-hmm.
driving of the cars is so different, which is why there are so many drivers who will test for like F1 drivers will test for IndyCar and be like, that shit's hard. Like I
Yeah.
don't like it. I don't drive well like that. But I think you really got to like latch onto these people who are like, I would oh, I'm gonna get into IndyCar because Logan might go and be like, okay, so it is a little different than what you're thinking,
Yeah.
but here are the cool things about it that you may still be interested in, even though it's not like baby F1. It's not a dumping grounds for F1
Yeah.
rejects, as
There has been
people
some
have been
people
saying.
there's some people that do have that storyline where maybe F1 wasn't going their way and then they go to IndyCar and
Yeah,
everything is better. Like the Marcus Ericssons, you know what I mean? Where it's like, actually, there might have been something there where he was maybe just better suited for IndyCar and he didn't realize it until he had gotten kicked out of F1. And then he found where he maybe actually belonged. Like a racing series he can actually succeed in because the driving of the car suits him. There's also people though that does not happen. Like Roman Grosjean did not go to IndyCar and then just start knocking everybody's socks off. No offense, Roman Grosjean, but I think that there's
right.
a misconception with F1 fans that yeah, this is somehow like F4. You know what I mean? Like if you get kicked out of F1, you just go to IndyCar because they just be goofing around over there and they'll just like wipe the floor with everybody. I think in my heart of hearts, I do actually think there is a chance that Logan could go to IndyCar and be
Mm-hmm.
extremely successful on like the road circuits and stuff like that IndyCar has. I do think it's worthy to be hesitant of his success on ovals, which is obviously a big deal in IndyCar. Because like, do we have any knowledge of Logan being good at ovals? Have we ever seen him
I
drive
have
one?
never seen that man on an oval, but
And
it is
that might
in
be a bit of
his
an issue. Just a thought, guys. Just a thought. Might
it
be a
is
little bit
in
of an
his
issue.
genes though, because his
Mm-hmm.
brother was a NASCAR driver for a
His
hot
jeans
minute.
from
It's in his
Abercrombie.
genes.
Yeah.
Sponsored? Is he still sponsored by Abercrombie? Should I stop supporting them?
I don't know. I don't know. Who knows what that man is up to? But yeah,
He's
you're right. He has some experience around oval racing in the way of his
being
sibling.
present. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Which in that
also,
in
I
that
think,
way, we are as qualified as him because we watch people
well, yeah, but
drive
we
on
knew
ovals
that.
all the time.
We knew that. We knew we could hop in the car and be fine. It's not a F1 reject feeder series. It is Andrea and MJ's like gold mine of success. And I've always said that.
And we've always said that.
But there are situations though where I think, because like Kevin Magnussen, I think is a really good example of an F1 driver who's like okay in F1. And I don't know every detail about Kevin Magnussen's career, so maybe he popped off for a minute. But
Mm-hmm.
he came over to IndyCar and had like almost immediate kind of decently good well results.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because that's his driving style. When you think of like, I mean, Daniel Ricciardo's driving style, he's more attuned to the F1 driving style. So it wouldn't make sense for
Yeah.
him to come over to IndyCar. And I just think that's something that people have not grasped yet. I think they're just like, I'm desperate to get him a seat, which is why I was like,
Yeah.
send Logan to NASCAR. I'm like, at this point, put him back in go-karts. I don't know. Get that boy on the track. You want to talk about NASCAR?
Where are we
You want to talk
racing
about
this week?
NASCAR?
Where are we racing tomorrow, MJ? We're filming this on a Saturday. Where are we racing tomorrow, MJ? I can't. Kansas.
We are
Kansas.
Kansas,
Kansas.
which apparently had a pretty exciting race. I believe it was in 2023, where
Mm-hmm.
they had one of those like picture finish moments where they
Mm.
had to like, like in Cars, where they
Yeah.
had to like snap a picture to know who won. Um,
In Cars, the movie?
in
Are
Cars,
you familiar? The film. Cars, the film?
yeah, this cinematic masterpiece,
Yeah.
Cars. So that was pretty contentious. They had to actually redo, this is a fun fact I actually learned earlier this morning to prepare for this. They
Mm.
had to repaint the start finish line because it was like diagonal. So they had to repaint it so that it's like stick straight, but that actually doesn't matter, is also what I learned today, because NASCAR has a laser finish line. So that's how they figured it out anyways. It's not actually by taking Andrea. It's not actually by taking a Polaroid photo like they did in Cars. They
Yeah.
have science. They're using engineering.
There's actually so much to unpack there. One, whoever painted the start and finish line to start with, why did you make it diagonal? Like, you have like one
I don't know.
actually fairly important job, but apparently that is just glossed over. Whatever. It was diagonal and then they fixed it. Woohoo. Second of all, why is NASCAR operating on like space level technology? I found out about like the inspections that they do are like
Yeah.
crazy lasers too. Like they have
Yeah.
any problem they have in NASCAR, they're like, do we have a laser to fix this?
Do we
Or
have a laser for this?
what if we made it laser? Does that work? And they're like, yeah. Everything's laser now. What?
NASCAR is operating on another level. I don't know if you've ever, I think it's only specific like broadcasts of it, but they will teach you about the different like components of the car, like the
Mm-hmm.
aero components of the car. I'm about to say a lot of words that I'm not super confident about. They have this graphic that shows up. It's like a digital 3D car, and they show it by like rushing water in on it to show where it like moves the air. It is like one of the coolest graphics you will ever see.
And
And
it's just
I
on
was like,
NASCAR.
and I was like, NASCAR, I was not familiar with your game.
Well, I
It's
love how like the
honestly
way it
amazing.
maybe there were steps between this that I'm not aware of, but the way it went from we have these weird like pre-made little template things that we just put on top of the car, and as long as everything fits within this little like plastic template that we've made, then that means everything good. They went from that to lasers. Like they literally went from
Crazy.
like stencils to lasers. That's insane.
That's innovation, dude. We're not in the dark ages anymore. We
No.
have lasers now. NASCAR has lasers. And what's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah, if you're listening and you like work with NASCAR in any way, I'm gonna go ahead and need you to tell me everything that's laser based because it seems to be a lot. But the laser start to finish that's kind of sick. I think that like all of these like weird little like high tech sensors that you find out about in motorsport are like so crazy to me. Like in F1, like the start boxes and stuff, like they can tell somebody jumped the start based on like a sensor that they have. And then like I was even amazed when you were telling me about how they like turn off the
The
hybrid
hybrids?
restart in IndyCar. I'm like, who turns off? What do we mean? Like, there's just some like wave that goes through the air, some electromagnetic whatever, and they're like, turn off, hybrid restart, done. Like,
Yeah,
why is
engineering
motorsport
is
so?
crazy.
Yeah,
So
actually, I
science.
realized.
I thought it was just cars. I was like, my Ford Focus can do everything that these cars can do. But they're like,
Yeah.
no, actually, we're putting a little bit more work into it than you may think.
Can you believe that this is actually a little bit more advanced than your 2019 Nissan Altima? But
Can you believe?
honestly, this is just us coming out as stupid in our first episode. This whole conversation is just us being like, science is crazy.
Science rules.
But I don't know. I think it is a little bit insane. I would not have thought that NASCAR was rocking with a laser start to finish. But, you know, whatevs.
The more
Shout
you
out
know.
NASCAR. Shout out NASCAR.
I'm excited to see it work this weekend. I'll be
Yeah.
tuning in specifically for the laser.
We need a big one this weekend. I
There were no big
cannot.
ones last weekend.
I cannot be doing what we did last weekend in Bristol. Nope, 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 nope. I will not be doing that. No. That was the most boring race I've ever watched in any motorsports. That's an exaggeration. Somebody's going to come back and be like, actually, this race was way more boring. That was pretty darn boring, though, guys. Okay? And we all know
It
it.
was very boring for many reasons. I think the only person who had a good time, in my opinion, was Kyle Larson, who was just
Yeah.
slapping everybody. No one else could move. Like, no
No.
one else could move position. And Kyle was like, oops, another overtake. I'm just
We
going to
do.
squeeze on by you.
Can we talk about Kyle Larson's celebration after he won? Because I'm actually still kind of thinking about it. The way he like took his child and put him in like the window of the car with like no seatbelt, no nothing. He wasn't even holding the kid. And then like proceeded to like drive around with this kid hanging out the car. In most motorsports, the way that like that would be a bajillion-dollar fine, like the way that you cannot do anything like that in any other motorsport. I'm like, how is he getting away with this? Why is there a child running around on the track? How is that
Yeah.
allowed?
I feel like it's actually kind of pretty common in NASCAR, which I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's like a good thing, but I'm also not saying it's a bad thing. I don't know. I'm trying to hedge my bets. I don't know how NASCAR fans feel about this.
Yeah. But I
You
was
know,
like,
I'm just nervous.
yeah, no, I love that. Congratulations, you won. What do I know? But I was like, is that a child? Hello? Is
Yeah, that
anybody
was
else
kind
seeing
of,
that?
I was like, where did he come from?
That's
But also,
what I'm
when do
like,
you think they decided that he had won the race and got this kid ready? Do you think it was like lap 4? They're like, yeah, Kyle's taking this home. Get the kid ready. Get
Yeah.
the sword ready. Have you seen the picture of him
Sword?
like biting the sword? Yeah.
No.
So apparently you
What?
get a sword at Bristol. I'm not familiar with why. I should probably look into that. But
Yeah.
it's like a pirate sword. You didn't see any of these pictures?
That seems unnecessary, actually. I'm going to go ahead and say.
It seems super necessary and super cool. So, first of all,
Okay.
Andrea,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I retract my statement.
yeah, I
He
don't know
gets.
why though. I'm not super sure.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think that they were probably like on lap 4. They're like, get the sneakers on the kid. He's going to be running for sure.
He's got to get there. Put your tennis shoes on, kid. You're going for a ride.
But yeah, hopefully we have more to talk about in NASCAR next week. Hopefully it's a little bit more exciting. Hopefully we have a little bit of drama. I am interested because yeah, like obviously it's the next round of the playoffs. Things are kind of starting on a different foot for a lot of drivers. I'm curious to see if that makes some people go a little crazy. I think the last round of the like first round of playoffs, people maybe were just playing it safe. You know what I mean? Like they were like, you know what, I don't need to do anything crazy to make it where I need to be to get to the next round. But maybe this week they need to do something crazy.
Yeah, I would really appreciate it if Denny Hamlin could get ahead of it. Because
Mhm.
he kind of, there were, for a minute, I was like, hey, Denny, you're not making it to round 2. And this
I hate to
podcast
break
is
it
about
to
to
you.
get really sad. His podcast is about to get really sad.
Not
Not our
podcast.
podcast. No,
Yeah.
no, we're fine.
Yeah, we'll live. But his podcast is going to be really sad.
Super
He's like
sad.
2.5 hour episode podcasts each week that he comes out with. There needs to be a time limit on that, buddy. I'm sorry. think you're a great dude. Shout out Denny,
Dude,
but none of that, please.
just go to therapy like a normal person. You don't need to put it all on a podcast.
Us on our first episode of our podcast that's not even fully out yet. Yeah, that driver has a pretty lame podcast. Am I right, guys? But
Oh no.
yeah, I think that basically sums up this week in motorsport. We've covered all of the F1 shenanigans, and we're not going to have very many F1 shenanigans for the next 2 weeks. We have no IndyCar races, but plenty of shenanigans we've discovered. And then we have NASCAR playoffs.
Absolutely.
So next week, we will cover the charter system. So if you have any thoughts or questions on the charter system, feel free to let us know on our Instagram or TikTok at LapsDownPod. This show will be a lot more fun if we get some engagement from folks. So feel free to send us a message on there, and we would love to chat about it on the pod. And if you're not already following us on there, you might as well. You might as well. You know what I mean? And
You probably should.
yeah, I thought you said you probably shouldn't. I was like, MJ,
Oh no, you
please.
probably
We're trying
should.
to
Yes.
promote here, actually.
Promo. Yeah.
And also, we're pretty new to the podcast game. We have absolutely zero reviews on any podcasting streaming, meaning nobody knows whether or not we are actually even real people and not just AI voices thrown onto one of these streaming services. You know what I mean? So, like, give us a little love, a little 5-star review. Maybe even follow us. Hearts up if you love that. You know what I mean?
Hearts up in the chat.
Up. And if you disliked this episode, that's okay. We're getting started. You know what I mean? Just give us a little break. We're trying.
It'll get better. Please stick around. Please, it'll get better.
Podcasting is so hard.
It's really hard.
Wait, you know that?
Oh,
you
we
know that
lost him
scene?
there.
You know that scene in like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies? Have you seen that movie? Where?
I have not.
Oh my God.
I don't.
Okay, wow.
I know. You're
wow,
gonna
wow,
learn
wow.
really quickly that I have not seen anything.
There's like this hilarious scene where like she's like, nobody cares about your podcast, and she's like, podcasting is actually really hard. Like I have to like schedule the guests. But yeah, podcasting really hard. Give us a shot. You know what I mean? This is only the first step. It only goes up from here. Actually, I don't know
Yeah.
if I should promise that. It'll be like good-ish.
At
Right?
least linear. Like we're not gonna go down. At least linear.
It's linear. Yeah, so just give us a shot. Alrighty, y'all. I will catch you guys here next Monday with MJ. Say bye, MJ.
Bye.